Hi everybody, I hope you are all doing well. It's quite a beautiful morning here in England, in the south of England, should I say, just to clarify, because England obviously covers quite a range of area. It's quite lovely here on Sunday morning in the south of England. Forgive my curled kind of look. I've let my hair dry naturally today, and as I've gotten older, my baby curls have come back, so that when my hair is wet, it decides to curl. So I like it, but it's just, it looks a bit of a mess, but I assure you it's just because it's wet at the moment. So what have I been up to since you last saw me? Working, obviously, but also I've been doing various things. So first of all, I've started rereading a book series for Stories in My Soul, because it's been so long since I've read them. I was like, you know what, I want to go back over them. Another book series, a book series that I'm going to feature on Stories in My Soul, the drama for which comes to Disney Plus on the 1st of May. So I've been figuring out what I want to say and everything for that one, but I'm going to wait until after the drama airs, so then that way I can talk about that as well. And FYI, I'll give you a little teaser here, the drama is Shardlake, so I think you can figure out exactly which book series, given if you've watched me for some time, you know the books that I love, what I'm going to be talking about. And thirdly, the main thing is that I have become obsessed with Percy Jackson on Disney Plus. Now, Percy Jackson books, I read, I think, about the first 10 books, and then other stuff got in the way and I just, didn't go back to them. And by the way, I don't mean when they first got published. I mean around 2010-ish, so a good 5 years after the first book was published is when I started reading them. I love the world. I think those books are absolutely great, but I haven't gone back over them. And so I was very excited for the TV series, but I wanted to wait until all of the episode had aired, and then I could binge watch them together, because if they were bad, then I binge them and I don't have to think about them again. Or if they was good, then I could watch it many, many times. I've watched the entire series 3 times this week. 3 times. I think that tells you what I thought about them. So I want to do a video about them, the series, the books as well. So I've been kind of doing a lot of stuff relating to books that you're not going to see for a while, but it's been really interesting week doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna reread the Percy Jackson books, and by that I mean the first 5 only is what I'm going to be talking about. So in that video, and the series, and obviously the film and such as well. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to this week, as well as reading Her Secret Son by Catherine Cookson, which I'm here to talk about. Now, one thing you need to be aware of straight off the mark. Her Secret Son, I just said His Secret Son, that's weird, was published in 1971, but not under this title. It was instead published under Feathers in the Fire, okay? It wasn't until 2021 that the title got changed to Her Secret Son. Why did that happen? I have absolutely no idea. Was it needed? Absolutely not. And when I ask that, was it needed, I mean like a situation of And Then There Were None, where the original title was very politically incorrect, and so would never ever be published under that original title ever again. So they changed the title to And Then There Was None in order to make it a more appropriate title for publication down the line. That kind of thing, this is not the case of. Feathers in the Fire, given what happens, it makes so much more sense to me than Her Secret Son. So if there was absolutely no need to change the title because of it being inappropriate, the original title made absolute sense to the story. What was the need to change the title? I have no clue. So if you do want to read this book, please be aware that in some copies it would be called Her Secret Son, other copies it would be called Feathers in the Fire, but it's the same story. Okay, so there we go. I did double check when I found this out. My books, Catherine Cookson books collection that I have from my sister, and I don't have that title whatsoever. So it's not that I've got two copies of the same book in my collection under two different titles, which is something that's happened to me recently with a book about Richard III. That was fun to find out. So there we go. So, oh, no, go away. Sorry, there's an alert that just came up on my screen. So there we are. So just so be aware of that if you come across it. Now, what is this book about? This book is about a girl called Molly who works as a servant for a family in the early 1880s. So it's 1881 is where it starts, because it spans about nearly 20 years, this book. And Molly finds herself in a situation where she is pregnant by the landowner, the master of the house, Angus McBain, who's an absolute bastard. Of course he is, because it's a Catherine Cookson book. And in order to cover it up, she's forced into marrying a guy called Davy Armstrong, who is a servant at the Angus's house, the McBain's house, in order to cover up the situation. At the same time, Angus's wife is pregnant with a baby boy who was born with a disability, and it's all about the 20 years span of what happens and the repercussions of secrets and lies in her life. Now, this is just over 400 pages long, and to be honest, I wasn't all that impressed by it. It's an okay story, but what has really frustrated me is the length of the book. Now, let's compare it to some other books in, the various books that Catherine wrote, as there was over 100. We have something like A Dinner of Herbs, which was published in 1985. Dinner of Herbs is a similar situation where it's over 700 pages long, though, not 400 pages, and spans about 30 years of a family's life. And that is executed absolutely beautifully. I love A Dinner of Herbs. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I wonder if she's learned from this situation about the way that she does the structuring for books like this, where it's all one. Because, unfortunate thing, because it's only like 400 pages and it spans 20 years, it feels very frantic. There are a variety of characters who we follow throughout the whole 20-year period, to the point where Molly, it kind of feels like, is not necessarily the lead character. She's one of the lead characters, but she's not the lead character in the overall arching story. And it means that we have time jumps, and because of those time jumps, Catherine is then either forced to explain what has happened to characters in that gap, in that jump, or she just doesn't, and she leaves you to kind of figure out some things. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. If you've got something that you want to tell me about a character, sit there and tell me about the character. It also means that because you've got this frantic energy throughout, it kind of feels a little uncomfortable to read. It's not a hard read whatsoever. It's very easy. The fluidity of the sentences and such, and the way that she's dealing with the story, very good. Very happy with that. It wasn't a struggle, but it just felt like where am I going? I'm a bit on tenterhooks. I wanted some point to just go, stop, and let's just breathe for a moment. And I didn't get that. Now, another book series that she did, where she covered the saga of one family over multiple decades, was the Mallon series. Now, I've only watched the drama, which I, got the books are here that I've gone through and I've reviewed and I've ranked all of them. So I've got the 3 books, but I've not read them yet. They're upstairs, ready to be picked as and when that happens from my Catherine Cookson jar. That one each book is about, I think, 300 and some pages. So she's got between 200 and 300, I think, is probably more right. So she's got between 600 and 900 pages, let's say, across those 3 books. But she spread them across 3 books. And that's the thing. I honest to God feel that if she had taken this same story and given it extra pages so that it could breathe, or even split it into 2 books and give both books the extra some extra pages in order to breathe, so then this goes from like a 400-page book to a 600 to 700-page story split over 2 books. I think that would have helped it so much more, or at least for me. And what is so sad for me is that with the phonetic nature of it, the love letter to the land, to the north of England, which she always celebrates as a character in itself in all of her books, especially in A Dinner of Herbs, it kind of gets lost. I didn't have that same warmth and love of the land that she usually portrays in her books. And very oddly, she does something that I have not come across in any of her books so far that I have read. And that is, she begins her first chapter in the middle of like an argument. So you're just like thrown straight in, and it's like, who is this? Who's talking? What? Who? What? What? That could have confused me. And she ends the book so abruptly. I was not anticipating that. I was like, okay. So they're gonna, so they're having this conversation. She's crying. He's comforting her. He's leading her upstairs. Okay. And turn the page at the end. What was that? I was like, what? Where's the concluding chapter? Catherine always has a concluding chapter to let us know that even if it's just like the next morning and her main character reflecting on things as she looks out of a window or something, Catherine always gives us that, but not in this one. So it did make me wonder, did she do this on purpose in regards to that she was breaking her own conventions, that she was experimenting possibly? And is it that books like A Dinner of Herbs, which she executed this mega saga in this massive book so beautifully, has benefited from her experimenting with this structuring? The only thing I can conclude from the few books of Catherine Cookson's that I've read so far, and I really want to emphasize that because I'm not a Catherine Cookson expert, and I have no way read enough of her works in order to conclude this. For me, I would say I think that possibly is the case. Sometimes you get authors who experiment with things, and especially for an author like Catherine, that this was 20 years into her career at this point, and she still had another 20 to go. I can kind of understand her experimenting and seeing what else she could do with her various characters. Now, the Malin trilogy, I'm not sure exactly when it was published. You know what? I'm going to look it up on my phone right now to check. The Malin trilogy. Hang on, year of publication. I can see lots of links to be able to buy it, but I just don't have the Malins. There we go. Okay, so the dramas of them came out in 1979. Oh, here we go. Right, book trilogies. So the books came out, the first one in 1973, and then the second and the third in 1974, and then the dramas were from 1979 onwards. So, and it's the dramas that I have watched. Obviously, because I've only watched the dramas, I don't know the differences between the novel and novels and the drama, apart from one thing about the ending, but I'm not going to go there because we're here to talk about this book. So yeah, so if the Malin trilogy came out a couple of years after this one, where she takes a saga story and she splits it over 3 books, it kind of feels like, okay, so is my theory, and I want to emphasize my theory is, if that's correct, then perhaps this was a book that she learned from, about splitting up stories, and then she decided for A Din of Herbs, rather than doing a splitting up, she kept it all together as one in this beautifully constructed story. So yeah, if that is the case, then that's really cool. My theory would be correct, but obviously I can't prove that. Only Catherine can, and sadly she is no longer with us. So yes, so the characters, if I get back to actually reviewing this book, the characters are very interesting, but as I said, because you've got this frenetic energy, you've got a lot going on, and so many years that it covers, I don't feel like I really connected with any of them. I felt just a bit, it felt off. I totally understood why characters did what they did, and given their circumstances and such, which Catherine always kind of explores her characters so we get a wider understanding of things. But then sometimes, her nasty bastards just turn out to be nasty bastards, and that's the way it is. But she always does good comeuppances, and I thought, yeah, the comeuppance in this one was very, very interesting. And actually, I think so, in the drama, emphasizing the word drama, of the Malin series, she actually has one of her characters have a similar fate. Is that also linked to the whole thing of this? I don't know. As I said, it's a theory that I have, but it's just my theory. I felt that there were some things in this that were really interesting, especially looking at how children with disabilities were treated. She has talked in the books that I've read so far, she has had characters with disabilities, but I thought it was very interesting that we had, in this case, a child who is born near the beginning of the book who has a disability, and then we follow them for the next 20 years of life. I thought that was, she hasn't done that before. We've always met such characters as adults. So it's there. I thought that was very interesting that she decided to do that. But there were some choices that characters made where I did go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm not saying that they have to do everything that I go, yes, I completely, utterly agree with you, because obviously characters are characters, just as people are people. You will see people make choices and you go, really? So you want your characters who you're reading be as realistic as possible, and so they will make mistakes, and you've got to let them do what they decide to do, because it's important for their development. So with the overarching story, though, it was just okay for me. I kind of felt like I'd seen, as mentioned, like the Malin thing and Dinner of Herbs and such, like I have seen this played out in other places, but now that I know the timeline, that this was before those, I'm like, okay, I can't criticize her for having done that, because if it was a case of those books were before this one, I could go, well, you've already done that, haven't you? But this is actually the one that possibly kicked off the inspiration to do that in other places. I don't know, but as I said, I'm saying this as someone who was just sporadically reading these books throughout the timeline at random. I don't have all 100 plus books that Catherine Cookson wrote, and I'm not reading them in order. So yeah, I think, but that, I suppose you could say that's good though. She's writing what she knows, and I know from reading like Den of Herbs and such that what she wrote further along in her career was absolutely beautiful. So if this is a story where it's just okay for me, but I know what she is capable of later down the line, I am more than happy with that. go with it, because it shows that she is learning and she's developing as a writer, even at this point of her career when she's 20 years in. She's experimenting, she is exploring various different venues and such of her writing and learning from it, and I can't fault her for that. So even though this one was just okay for me and was a little frenetic and a little off, I'll go with it. I'm happy with that. So there we go. There is no drama of this book whatsoever. So it's just literally, this is as far as it goes in regards to different interpretations of this book. So I can't talk about that to review, unfortunately, but there we go. But you never know, the next books that I pick out my jar might have a drama, and so I will be talking about that as and when, but we shall see. But there we go. Those are my thoughts on Her Secret Son, aka Feathers in the Fire by Catherine Cookson. Now it's time to ask my usual question. Would I read this again? Yes, I would. But I think I want to explore Catherine's other work. I'm not saying because I had a more negative view of it compared to her other ones I would never pick this up again, but I need that thing of, I need to explore more of her works in order to be fair, and Catherine's got so many books. I just feel like by the time I go back to this, it might be an incredible amount of time, but I have no problem going back to this at some point. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, I would, but I would flag the fact that it covers 20 years and there's a lot of stuff going on, so it might feel a bit frantic. I just realised that I think I've been saying frantic is what I was trying to say. Throughout this review, it just feels like there's a lot of stuff going on. Would I read any more of Catherine's work? Well, yes, of course, because I think she's absolutely fantastic. I really like Catherine Cookson, and yeah, we shall see what it brings next. So have you read this book? I'd love to know what you think. You can leave me a comment in the comment box below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, touch your like you decide. And I'm back with my thoughts on my next read, which is The Casebook of Sherlock Holmes. This is the absolutely beautiful bookishly exclusive design from an advent calendar that I got. Which one was it? Yes, it was 22 because it was 2022 because 2023 was when I did the Shop by Mum advent calendar. That's it. I was just about to say 2023, and then I thought, no, hang on, did I do bookishly for 20? Anyway. Advent of 2022, I got this, and so yeah, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, we're going to delve into the world of Sherlock Holmes. And funny enough, this is someone who loves to read and such. I've only ever read like sporadic bits of Sherlock Holmes. I've never read a full book of Sherlock Holmes, and there is one story for sure that I can remember reading entirely, which is Study in Scarlet. And I'm pretty sure I've read The Disappearance of Mrs. Fairfax. Oh, that's going to bug me. I think she's got a double-barreled name, and I can't think what it is. Because I find that story really, really interesting. But anyway, I will talk about that more next time I am back with my review of Casebook of Sherlock Holmes. All right, everyone. I hope you have a good day. Bye.